Ben Carlisle is the owner, operator, publisher of Bleed Tech Blue, an independent entity that covers Louisiana Tech in depth online with recruiting write-ups and driving all sorts of fan conversation through its message boards and social media activity. There's also Bleed Tech Blue Radio, a 90-minute weekly radio program, Tuesdays from 6 to 7:30 on Sports Talk 97.7 that covers the program he co-hosts with Beck Haynes. Carlisle is a former Bulldog, a soft-tossing lefty, as he describes himself, and he'll wind and deliver next on today's edition of Tech Drive. Voice of the Bulldogs, Kyle Schatzberger, and welcome in to the Tech Drive, the long-anticipated visit to Tech Drive. Glad I can finally return the favor when I hopped on with you. That is Ben Carlisle, the owner, the operator, publisher of Bleed Tech Blue. Before the football opener, happy to have you in, Ryan Sweet, man. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well. It's obviously good to be in. We've had you on our show, Bleed Tech Blue Radio. It's good to return the favor and be on the Tech Drive with you this afternoon.
You haven't had me on enough, though. Like, do we got to reciprocate this, like, one for one each time? Like, we can't plan in advance? Okay, that's all right. Who's coming on the show? Now, it's going to be dated, but we got a podcast, and we'll get into Bleed Tech Blue Radio. But who's on the show for Tuesday night that people can listen back to the next day?
Yeah, so obviously we'll preview Kennesaw State, that game coming up this week for Louisiana Tech. Bulldogs off to a great start. I know Kennesaw State's feeling good about themselves as well. Having won 3 in a row. And then I guess our premier guest, we'll talk with Miami Marlins left-handed pitcher, former Louisiana Tech Bulldog, Ruston native Cade Gibson. Cade's been really good to us over the years, and so we're excited to visit with him in studio now that he's wrapped up a really good rookie season for the Marlins.
Yeah, what am I doing talking to you right now if Cade Gibson's back in town?
He's the man.
He should be sitting where you're sitting.
He's the man. A unique story, too, and that's what we're excited to dive into as well.
Well, business, I'm sure, is booming with the Dogs' 4-1 start on the gridiron, huh?
Yeah, it's always great. Obviously, I think so often in this industry, especially a message board industry like we are at Bleed Tech Blue, you hear that losing sells, but that's not the case at Louisiana Tech. When we have success, or when Tech has success, whether it be football or men's basketball, women's basketball, baseball, softball, all the sports, that's when we seem to see the biggest tick up in interest at our website. And so it's been nice to get off to a 4-1 start. And we've had a lot of fun covering it throughout the first 5 weeks.
So Bleed Tech Blue, an online publication. You have the digital aspect of it. You have Bleed Tech Blue Radio. There's a call-in show after post games as well. It all kind of is tied in together. But I want to give you the opportunity. Explain what it is, the purpose, the mission of Bleed Tech Blue, now a product of On3.
Yeah, so let's go all the way back. So Bleed Tech Blue was originally established back in 2008, 2009. Jonathan Ford was the owner and publisher back then. I got to know Jonathan around 2016, 2017. I guess it was really the fall of 2016 that we started to develop a relationship through our church in town. And we had some discussions about, maybe one day I'll take over Bleed Tech Blue if he decided to move elsewhere. He had just gotten married like I had. And I got a call from, I guess it was a Monday night in February of 2017. And he was like, the website's yours. He's like, if you want it, it's yours. And here's the catch. Signing day is Wednesday. And back in this time, signing day was a huge deal. We didn't have 2 different signing periods. And he also threw out there, not only a signing day Wednesday, I've told Skip Holtz that you'll be there. And so I got an opportunity I had the radio show the following night on Tuesday. I had 3 pages of information. I think I went through all that in one segment. But that is what it is. You learn radio on the fly. It was one of the first times I'd ever been on radio. And then you get to Wednesday, which was signing day, to sit in the war room with those guys and start developing that relationship with Skip Holtz and his staff was really cool. And from there, we just took it and ran. I was learning a lot on the fly as far as how I wanted to operate. It was the middle of basketball season. I'm a baseball guy, having played baseball at Louisiana Tech, so I wanted to cover that maybe a little bit more than Jonathan did. And so we took that angle in 2017. I believe that was, ironically enough, that was Lane Burroughs' first year at Louisiana Tech. And over the last 8 years, we've kind of just navigated things through this digital media world where on a football side or basketball or baseball nowadays, what we try to do for our subscribers is we want to provide every avenue that we can when it comes to sets of information or data that we give them leading up to a game, whether it's the analytical side, whether it's statistics, just plain Jane statistics. You have the betting side that's really grown over the last few years. And, we'll throw that out there. And whatever you like to consume as a subscriber, as a fan, we try to provide that bit of information. And we've had a lot of success doing it. We've become the biggest G5 message board in the Own3 or 247 network, and we're really proud of that. And we're hoping to continue to grow. And the number one thing for us, though, is we just love Louisiana Tech, and that's why we keep doing it year in and year out.
There's no doubt you've invested so much, and it started with Jonathan Ford, and you've helped to you've surrounded yourself with a lot of other people to help contribute in different areas. And, your growth, I think, and the university's growth and athletic department in many ways can need to go hand in hand,
Sure.
And it can be a delicate thing, and we'll get more into that. But I think it's important to state, full disclosure, the rebrand of this podcast, Tech Drive, okay? And this is the voice of the Bulldogs, all right? You're hearing it from the horse's mouth, okay? Same name as your message board.
Correct.
So myself, Kyle Cavanaugh, Senior Associate AD, came to you in good faith out of respect for what you do. And really, I think that sort of gesture, that exchange, that decision embodies what it is we're trying to do here and have a copacetic relationship between the athletic department, its teams, and the coverage that you provide.
Yeah, no doubt. And obviously, I appreciated you guys coming to me and discussing that. And I don't know that, I ever thought it was a huge deal. But like you said, I think the relationship between Louisiana Tech, the university, the athletic side, and with media, like you said, it's crucial. And you have to have that. And I think, for the most part, going back to your point about the team that I've built around me, I think just like in an athletic department, that's what we're trying to build. The ideas that we bounce off one another. When you're talking about Bleed Tech Blue Radio with my co-host Beck Haynes or a post-game show, we're discussing this. We're trying to figure out the angles that we should take to best represent Tech and how they're playing on the different athletic fields, but also doing our due diligence or our duty to our subscribers while giving them the proper information and sharing it in a way that, comes off smoothly or comes off in how a game should be described, whether positive or negative. And we try to take all different angles. But that is something that we take a lot of pride in. And I certainly appreciate you guys reaching out to me with the Tech Drive portion of this podcast. And I know you guys have had a lot of success with it. And we'll continue to try to help y'all in any way that we can.
Your content is subscriber-based. You've mentioned that already. There is some content available online that
Sure.
can be free and, help people wet their beak in what it is that you do. How's the transition been from Rivals to On3?
It's been awesome. I think for so long, Rivals was the leader in the industry. And I think over the last few years, it kind of tailed off a little bit. Obviously, they were owned by Yahoo. Yahoo probably wasn't spending as much money on them as they used to. And we had a number of conversations about some different avenues about where we might want to get to. But when it was announced that On3 had purchased Rivals and that Rivals was going to go under that umbrella, my first thought was, are we going to be kept on? And obviously, you feel good about yourself and the work that you've done. But until you've officially been invited, you do have that bit of doubt. But Shannon Terry brought us over. He was the founder of Rivals. He was the founder of 247, and now he's the founder of Own3. And I just really believe in his vision. And really the end goal for Own3 is to become the hub for college sports, become the quote-unquote ESPN of college sports. in this industry. And I think that Shannon's done a great job with that. And we've really loved the move over. There's a whole lot more manpower. And as you guys know, manpower can be critical when you're operating a business.
And by no means is this your full-time gig.
No.
It's more than a passion project. I think it consumes at least half your life, or as much as half your life as you can.
Probably more.
Yeah, maybe more. But you're a husband, you're a father, but you're also a farmer.
Yes.
Explain.
Okay, so I graduated from tech in 2014. Worked a little bit in insurance. Following that, I went to the corporate world. I worked for mortgage contracting services here in town for a tech graduate, Caroline Reeves. She was the CEO of the company. I did that for 7 years, and COVID hits. We all go home. We start working from home. I believe I did that for almost a year. Might have made it a year. And I was like, I told my wife, I was like, I don't think I can work from home anymore. I can't be at home 24 hours a day with nothing to do. I know I'm working. This is not necessarily my passion. My passion was Bleed Tech Blue. I wasn't making enough money financially to do it full time. So I called my dad back home, had a family farm, and he said, come on. And so that's what I've been doing for the last 4 years. We raise cotton, we raise corn, we have some cattle as well. It's actually the middle of harvest season right now. We're picking cotton. So it's been awesome. I get an opportunity to work with my dad every day, get an opportunity to work with my brother every day. And that's the really cool part of it, because you don't get to do that a whole lot when it comes to family.
I saw you post a picture the other day on Instagram, and yeah, the serenity, the vibes attached
peaceful
to it. Yeah. What kind of cattle?
Cows.
Okay, cows. For some reason, I thought I was going to introduce you as a pig farmer, but I knew I had that one wrong.
No, not our area of expertise.
No, not at all. Striking that balance, though, with farming, continuing to grow Bleed Tech Blue, and again, being a family guy, how difficult is that?
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest challenge. The farming aspect gives you some flexibility, that's weather related. You can get opportunities where you're not doing a whole lot. But Bleed Tech Blue, if I'm being honest, it's a 24/7 job. Like you're on the clock all the time. I think that's something that my wife has had to get used to, just over the years, as far as if you get a commitment, regardless of sport, you want to be able to tell that guy's story. And so you want to reach out to that prospective student athlete and say, hey, why did you choose Louisiana Tech? What were some of the offers that you had on the table? And for me, I'm the type of person that I want to get that information out there as freshly as it can be out there. And so you have to adjust your schedules at times. I think my kids, I have 2 daughters that are 8 and 6. They'll be 9 and 7 next month. I have a 2.5-year-old little boy, and they love it. They live the dream with dad, going to sporting events where there's football. I would say they probably say men's basketball is their favorite sport. A little bit shorter of a game. You feel like you're closer to the court. They can run around. We can keep them in sight. But they have a blast. They love that dad does Bleed Tech Blue. My daughter told me this morning, she said, Dad, can you give us a shout out for our soccer game tonight on radio? And it's like, that's pretty cool, but that comes with it. They're in soccer season. I love watching them do all their sports. Mom drives them around town when I'm busy, and we have a lot of fun, but it is a lot to balance. Especially when you get into, the start of a football season in the middle of August, and you run all the way up, I guess, to that crossover season with basketball and football, I guess, late November, early December.
There's also a tightrope, at least something to consider, keep in mind and maybe not, but as you seek to provide fair, accurate coverage of tech, generate content, conversation. Again, this is all part of what Bleed Tech Blue is, and that can include an element of being critical at times.
Yeah, it is, and that's the most challenging part of the job, because, like I said earlier, the number one thing for us is we're fans of Louisiana Tech. We got a degree from here. I played baseball here. There's nothing more that I love than seeing Louisiana Tech win, regardless of what the sport it is. But at the same time, like you said, we have an obligation to be fair and accurate. And I think when you evaluate games in our position, sometimes you can come off as critical. But the one thing that we want to do, and like I said earlier, we want to discuss leading up to a show or even when we're talking on our message board, we want to bounce ideas off of each other within the circle that I've been able to create around me. Hey, are you seeing the same thing that I'm seeing? And if they are seeing the same thing, all right, how are we going to approach this? Are you seeing it differently? Okay, where am I missing out? And so we have a lot of those conversations internally before we go on a radio show, before we do a post-game show, which a post-game show, as you know, it's a whole lot more emotional, especially after a loss. And so we discuss all those different things, but I think the one thing that we've been able to develop over the years is just a trust of you're going to deliver us the good, you're going to deliver us the bad, and then you're going to deliver us from an opinion standpoint of where Louisiana Tech can maybe fix some of those issues going forward. And so that's been cool to see. That's the hardest part of the job, like you said. And I think, early on in my tenure, and I don't know if Lane Burroughs would agree with this, but I think I'm a baseball guy, and so I'm more opinionated on baseball. And, there's intricate details in games. Should you bunt here? Should you go lefty here from the bullpen? There's all those different things. And so I could have come off critical there, but it all comes from a place of love, a place of passion from seeing Louisiana Tech do well year in and year out.
And a lot of it, I think, because there's Matt Bellinson with the Ruston Daily Leader, but is that really you're the only show in town when it comes to the kind of content that you produce. This isn't an SEC community or some Power 4 community. And all due respect, obviously, to what we love and what we're consumed by here at Tech, but how many other news organizations and conversation is there out there in the marketplace?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And that's the thing, too. And I told our subscribers, I guess it was back early August, as far as Bleed Tech Blue Radio goes, we want to be successful. We want to entertain you with what we do, but we want to provide the guests that you want to hear from. Like, if you want to hear from former Tech players in the NFL, that's who we want to provide you with. And so we're always looking for ways to enhance our brand, but enhance Louisiana Tech's brand as well. And like you said, when you're the only show in town, I don't want to say you have to be careful. You want to be yourself, but you also want to make sure that you're accurate in how you're reporting whatever you're reporting or whatever you're saying. And so those are the challenges of the job, though, and I welcome the challenge. I think the biggest reason that I welcome the challenge is because I love doing this. Like, when I wake up in the mornings, the first thing I'm doing is I'm going to Bleed Tech Blue and I'm checking out, what other people are saying, because some of the funnest conversations we have are fans saying, hey, and I'm like, are you watching the same game as me? But some of that's the beauty of it. That's why what makes the world go round is just having everybody in all their different opinions.
Yeah, we all are seeing things differently, right? You going to pick Tech to win at Kennesaw State on Tuesday night show?
Well, Tech has a pretty good track record when I don't pick them to win, so I might.
I think that has drawn a lot of ire in terms of who you're picking in the games too.
Well, and listen, every week at Bleed Tech Blue we do a score prediction, and Tabor's our producer. John Tabor does a tremendous job. I know he produces the games for you guys on Saturdays, and he's gotten into. He picks Tech to score a defensive touchdown every week. He's very proud of that. And Beck and ourselves, we like to have some fun with it, and so we say that we're not going to get burned. But I'll give a spoiler. I do have Louisiana Tech winning at Kennesaw State, and if it ultimately leads to a loss, I guess I can take the heat.
What's your assessment of the way the teams performed through the first 5 games?
It's been interesting. I think going back to fall camp, you watch this team leading up to the season. You obviously have your question marks. I think you do about every team across college football with just all the new faces that you have. But they've been, first and foremost, they've been incredibly entertaining, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But I think we mentioned this 2 weeks ago on Bleed Tech Blue Radio. I think this team, with the start that they've had, they have a great understanding of who they are from an identity standpoint. They've been really good defensively. They've had some moments on offense, but they've been really good. But at the end of the day, they understand how good they are defensively. And sometimes you go back to a game against New Mexico State. It wasn't that sexy in the second half. Same thing with Southern Miss. It wasn't sexy in the second half, but I think I mentioned this on radio as well. I had someone come up to me in the fourth quarter of that Southern Miss game. It's like, I hope we can hold on. And I'm like, they're not scoring 3 times on Tech's defense. Yeah. They're just not. And so understanding your identity as a football team is something they've done a really good job with, and they've been able to lean into, and it's led to a lot of success, and it's been fun to see.
I think we'll see Trey Kukuk again back against Kennesaw State.
And that's another element.
How effective, how impactful might he be? But, after the New Mexico State
last time
game,
we saw him, yes.
Yeah. I mean, that was 350 yards on the ground collectively as a team. You saw the dual threat aspect of the 2-quarterback system and what it can do in wreaking havoc and confusing a defense. I mean, if we can start building some momentum again with that look, which we only truly got for 3 quarters, 2.5 quarters of football against New Mexico State. I mean, to me, that's going to define, and I could be wrong. Maybe it's not my place as the voice to really provide this conjecture, but for me, I think that's where the ceiling of this team is going to be measured.
Well, yeah, I think so. And that's one thing that we said after that game. I think you see what their ceiling can be. And it's hard to reach your ceiling every game, obviously. I think if you can have your team or your offense or your defense perform in the 85 or 90 percentile of what their ceiling is, that's an excellent outcome. And they were able to do that in that New Mexico State game, and obviously Kukuk's been out the last couple of weeks. I think the interesting thing is not only how successful it was with him and Blake Baker, but when you watch both of those guys play, they're not that much different from one another. They're actually fairly similar in terms of their skill sets. I know Baker's a little bit bigger in terms of height-wise, but it's incredibly difficult to prepare for it from a defensive standpoint, from an opponent's standpoint, when both guys can throw the football, both guys can run the football, and hopefully they can continue to possess those same challenges to defenses moving forward.
How do you think this team, and especially on the defensive side, but really collectively, is going to rally around the loss of Kobe Fields?
Yeah, you have to. I think Sonny Cumbie spoke on Monday at his press conference about how, everybody has to collectively elevate themselves. And I think that's a great way to describe it. Kobe Fields, one of my favorite players to watch at Louisiana Tech. I think when you talk about guys that love football, like he loves football, and it doesn't matter if he's practicing or playing a game, you can see the love in the game, or the love that he has for the game. And I likened it to Amik Robertson when he showed up on campus in 2017. There was just something about him, and it felt like, as good as Tech's defense has been the last 2 years, Kobe Fields is at the center of it. Like, I don't know, and I'm not taking away from any of the other players, but like when he stepped on the field for the first time in a uniform in 2024, they were instantly a top 25, top 30 defense. You wonder if he would have been eligible in 2023. How good would that defense have possibly been? But it's a huge loss. He's an emotional leader. He's a team leader. You hope that you look at the guys behind him, the Alonzo Jacksons, the Zarek Hills, Jaden Mayfield, some local kids from Ruston and Haynesville. You know that they're very talented, but you know that you probably will have some growing pains at times. You just hope that they're minimal, and this defense continue playing at a high level, because they really get after it game in and game out.
And what a final ride through Conference USA we all anticipate it will be, with the Sun Belt membership kind of hanging in the balance. We all hope that it'll be July of 2026. But speaking of the conference affiliation, I mean, that you talk about a home run.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Conference realignment's so funny, because every time a team moves, especially at a Power 4 level, you're like, what does this mean for Louisiana Tech? Because at some point down the line, it's going to impact them. And so I remember when Texas and Oklahoma made their move, and it's like, oh boy, here we go. The wheels are turning. Schools are starting to move around. And so you wonder where Louisiana Tech, and I know there's a lot of letdown a number of years ago before Ryan Abbey and his staff got here. And then this summer, things ramp up, and you heard some things behind the scenes about, Texas State might be a school that could head to the Pac-12. And you're like, that has to mean good things for Louisiana Tech to get to the Sun Belt, and it finally happens. And I think the reaction from the folks that I've talked to has been tremendous. I think getting back to some of these regional rivalries with Louisiana Lafayette, Louisiana Monroe, we obviously had Southern Miss come to Joe Stadium this year. You got Arkansas State, that they're an old rivalry for some of the older Tech fans that they really gravitate towards. So I'm really excited about it. I think it'll be big. I think it's great for football. You could travel to games a whole lot easier from a fan standpoint. I'm also extremely excited about some of these baseball rivalries that could be developed.
Yeah, those reports, who was it? Pete Thamel. I'm trying to go back when all that was percolating. I was driving back from my Chicago vacation. The announcement of me, coming here as the next voice wasn't even, I think, 2 weeks old, and I'm seeing this and I'm like, okay, Texas State to the Pac-12, Louisiana Tech, the favorite. I didn't need to read that from Pete Thamel. I just needed to know Texas State was leaving.
Well,
and then it's like, okay, game on. Let's go.
And so my buddy's response was, we got burned last time. And I'm like, guys, if Pete Thamel says it, that's a different level of reporting.
Right.
And that's the beauty of it. And it eventually came to fruition, and it's been great feedback thus far.
No, it makes all the sense in the world. We're inside of a month until the start of hoop season. Can you believe it? Sneaks up on you, huh?
It really does. It really does. I love basketball season.
Yeah, it's November will be certainly a treat, trying to navigate the crossover season, as it always is each and every year. And I think, even from my perspective, the last 11, 12 years I've been a part of Learfield, you think you're better prepared each year, to kind of go through the ebbs and flows, but it can still get here quickly. So what are your expectations for both the men's and women's programs on
let's start on the men's side. I think Talvin Hester is going to have a bit of a new look team this year. You lose a guy like Daniel Baccio to graduation. It's hard to replace him just one for one. It'll be more of a team effort to do so. I think you look at some of the returners. A.J. Bates is a key piece. He'll be a sophomore point guard. I think he's really came on at the end of his freshman season and played some big minutes down the stretch. And then I think Caden Cooper, a year ago as a sophomore transfer from Oklahoma, you saw flashes of games where he could be a really high-level performer, but I think this year he's another year older, he's another year mature, that he could be a guy that could possibly lead you in scoring, a guy that can defend at a high level. I know his shot's gotten a lot better from the outside, so I'm really excited to see those guys. I think one thing about a Talvin Hester basketball team, they want their identity to be based on the defensive end of the floor. And so I think at times they might have gotten away from some of that last year, and they want to get back to being who they are. And the one thing is, Conference USA is a really good league. Every year you go into a season, you say, hey, we're a top 2 team, we're a top 4 team, top 6 team, whatever it might be. But we saw last year, Kennesaw State's a good program. Middle Tennessee's a good program. Liberty's a good program. It's always tough to go win in El Paso. It's tough to go win at New Mexico State. So the league's really good. I'm excited about the men's team. Like I said, a lot of new faces, but a lot of guys that you watch some of their film, you watch some of their tape, they're really talented. And then on the women's side, Brooke Storr's team, I thought they had a tremendous finish to last season, making it to the grade 8 of the women's NIT, and they return a bulk of the top end of that roster. When you talk about Paris Bradley, Gianna Morris, and some of those, I think Bradley's got a chance to be the best player in Conference USA, and I would imagine they're going to be picked somewhere in the top half or top 4, top 3 of the league. And I know the expectations for them are to get to it back to an NCAA tournament, and I think they have the tools to do so.
We will have a new Lady Texter's voice. This is an official tease.
Oh, really?
Okay, so be waiting on the announcement for that in the next coming weeks as we get closer to the November 4th start for the men. I believe it's the same for the women. They're playing at Arkansas. So, it'll be here quickly. And you can gear up for the season at Patton's Downtown. There's also Patton's Western Wear, but hundreds of uniquely designed and officially licensed Bulldogs Lady Texters apparel options at Patton's Downtown in Ruston. Patton's Western Wear and Patton's Downtown, heading to work, out of town, or to the big game, make them your destination. Talvin Hester will be on Tech Drive coming up next week. Okay, so we will get a full, thorough breakdown of this Bulldogs roster, the upcoming season, to what makes Talvin tick. I mean, he's a unique, amazing man in so many respects, but I just love the way he approaches the game and really trying to maximize the most out of his guys.
Oh, yeah. I think the one thing about a Talvin Hester team, and he was an assistant at Louisiana Tech under Eric Conkle before he went to Texas Tech and then came back. And He's had a good run here so far. You hope that they ultimately get over that hump and get back to an NCAA tournament. I know Tech fans are pulling for that, but incredibly disciplined head coach. He gets the most out of his players. They're going to play really hard night in and night out. I'll ask you, how excited are you to call a game in the Thomas Assembly Center?
Oh, man, I am jazzed up. Talvin, I want to talk to him a little bit about the history, or at least see, where he takes it in terms of playing in front of the home fans and getting, because it's going to be hard to get, big program outside of CUSA to come here,
Yes.
because it is the TAC, and you can feel.
It's tough to win inside there for opponents.
You can just feel the history, and it's a phenomenal venue, a setting I haven't been able to get enough of. Honestly, I plan to, take in basketball practice for at least an hour here today. I've been going once a week, pretty much it seems like since July when I got down here. I love the venue. I love the setting. I'm not quite sure how I feel about being, 3-4 rows up.
Yeah,
lifted and not down on the floor. Although that's becoming more of a norm as people look to sell more seating courtside, which, the broadcaster in me, that would be one of my big gripes, to lose that intimacy. But no, to be a good perch, elevation, that's fine. We'll react. I'll get accustomed to it. But no, I can't wait to just have basketball, man, to be consumed. Like right now it's football, right? You got your processes down. We are all wired in certain ways, but, really start to think about it, from my perspective, how things change from a preparation standpoint, and you got to remember what game you're calling and where you're at, and just trying to delegate your time. Like I can't wait for that challenge. And really the preparation has already started for hoops.
It has to. You got to get started. The uniqueness of the Thomas Assembly Center to me is, it's an roughly 8,000 seat venue. You get 3,000 or 4,000 people in there. It can get really loud in a hurry. And I think that'll be the cool part for you, is you'll begin to understand just why it's so difficult for opponents to win in. I love going to games in there, and like I said earlier, my kids love it as well.
Yeah, I don't think I've been in there with more than 50 people at a time, just from a practice standpoint or whatever event has been going on. So, yeah, that will be incredibly unique. I can't wait. Maybe we'll have some basketball guests coming up on Bleed Tech Blue Radio. I know we've already talked about what the plan is this week. Folks can find that, right, wherever they podcast.
Yes,
if they
wherever
miss
you
it,
podcast.
If they miss it live. But the show is during the season, Tuesday, 6 to 7:30, right?
Yeah, Sports Talk 97.7, 6 to 7:30. And then usually I'm able to get the podcast up pretty soon following the show.
Yeah, you're pretty quick with that. I appreciate that. I recognize game. I feel like you and I have a lot of that. What do you love most about hosting the show?
Just the banter. I mean, obviously you love the preparation part as far as putting together a show. I mean, anytime, I could walk into a studio now and talk 90 minutes about Tech sports, but I think that preparation part, and you and I have talked about this a lot, that preparation part comes off over the air. When someone's prepared, and so we try to prepare, but I think the good thing about me and Beck, who's my co-host, he's my best friend, and so I'm not going to say he plays a role, but he's not as actively involved in the day-to-day of Tech athletics. And so that my role is to provide all that information, and he provides more of the entertainment. And then, of course, John Tabor chimes in as well. And I think, one thing we developed over the years is just in-studio guests and how much that can bring to a show, because college athletics has changed a lot. You have the NIL portion of it. You have the transfer portal. That's one thing on the website side of things that we've tried to change, is we want to introduce Tech fans to every single player on a roster, because there are years where a football team might have 60 new players. There's basketball season where, honestly, you could have an entirely new roster. Baseball teams can have new rosters. And so we try to introduce the new players. And then when we get an opportunity to sit down with them in a studio setting, that's where you really get to know someone. And that's a part that fans can really appreciate as well. And I think we've done a good job at that over the years. And I know we've had you in studio. We've had Ryan Ivey, Tech Athletic Director. We've sat down with Jim Henderson and discussed his vision, not only for the academic side of a university, but for athletics. And so I just love the show week in and week out. And when we don't do it during the summer, you kind of feel like a bit of you's missing in a sense.
A few more minutes with Ben Carlisle, owner and publisher of Bleed Tech Blue. See what happens. I look at my paper and I get tongue twisted. It always happens that way.
That's how it goes.
Just stop checking the notes. I do want to get to your baseball career as a Bulldog, but I will say Tony Franklin, Lane Burroughs were on the show more than a week ago, not in studio, but over the phone. But I love the authenticity, the candidness that a guy like Tony brings. You know,
Sure.
how
Oh,
he's
yeah,
had
it's
to
great.
temper, how he's had to temper the way he talks to student athletes from when he was first here. Although the players won't think so, right?
Yes.
They still think, you know, he's getting all up in them in ways that maybe he shouldn't. So there's sensitivities there. And then, you know, with Lane, I mean, you hear Lane Burroughs talk, and I mean,
They'll fire you up.
the hairs instantly stand up on the back of your neck.
Yeah, I'll be honest. It is October. It's early October. Baseball's a long way from being here, it feels like. But I was like, you know what? Let's call Lane Burroughs, see what he's up to. And he always gets you jacked up. And I've had a chance to see them this fall. And he's a great interview. Like you said, Tony Franklin is as well. He's been one of our favorite interviews over the year. We've had him, on the show when he wasn't at Tech, just to get his perspective on college football. And he's been around the game so long. And I think the fun part about this year with Louisiana Tech football is just the drastic differences in what he's doing schematically on the offensive side of the ball. And we've talked a lot about that. But, I loved having both those guys on the show last week. Like we said, we'll have Marlins pitcher Cade Gibson on Tuesday night for Bleed Tech Blue Radio.
So you pitched for Tech, not near what Cade Gibson was.
No, not hardly.
2010, 2013. That was that Wade?
Wade Semino, yes.
Okay, sir. Wade Semino. What? I have your numbers, and I know you're well aware, but how would you describe the kind of pitcher you were?
It's a good question. I don't know if I've ever thought about it in that way. Soft toss and lefty. Yeah. It's probably the best way to describe it. But listen, so I came to Louisiana Tech in the fall of 2009. Had all the aspirations in the world to play baseball, was invited to walk on, got to school, and I was like, you know what? I don't think I want to play baseball. And so I didn't play my freshman year. I guess my freshman year academically. In the spring of 2010, started training with Chase Patterson, who's a PT here in town, and got back in shape, made the team as a redshirt freshman, I guess in the fall of 2010. And it was a great experience. We were in the Western Athletic Conference back in those days, and got to take some really cool trips out to Hawaii. Fresno State had just won a national championship a few years prior. Got to play against a lot of big leaguers that are still playing today. You talk about a Aaron Judge, a Max Muncy. Some of these guys are in the MLB playoffs right now. But it was, like you said, the numbers weren't great, but you got to look past that sometimes.
Yeah, it's not always about the numbers.
No, it's about the experience.
Did you have fun?
Did you have fun?
And speaking of Fresno, gosh, I forget because again, I'm the newbie here.
Yeah.
You know, the conference affiliation in the WAC, and with them winning the Natty, it was in 2012 when you had probably your best
start of
game,
my career.
Best start. That was in the WAC tournament. That was your third career start. You remember any of the numbers?
5 1/3.
23 batters
4
faced.
earned.
Yeah.
2 of them were inherited runners. Tell me I don't remember that outing.
You absolutely do. As you should.
No, that was really cool. We'd made a run out of the losers bracket. We got really hot offensively, and I think we had gotten to the semifinals. I think Fresno was a favorite along with Sacramento State. I think that Sac State team actually had Reese Hoskins on it. So they're really good, and Coach Semino handed me the ball, and I don't think I'd thrown more than probably 2 innings in a singular outing that year. And it was a really good outing and gave the team a chance to win. Ultimately came up short, but definitely the best outing of my career and the one that I remember the most.
Bird High School product. You also ran cross country, but yeah, your Tech career, 45 appearances, 9.16 ERA, 2-6 record.
Bad scorekeeper, should we say that?
Yeah, 74 2/3 innings. Opponents hit 345 off of you. I don't know, man. I mean, I think Milwaukee can roll you out there for Game 3 at Wrigley Field, and the Cubs would still get swept. What do you think?
It looks like it at this point, yes.
I mean, I'm not even going to ask if the Cubs can come back because
doesn't feel like
no team comes back from down 2-0. But a fellow Cubby, each of us pull for the Cubs. But can they win a game? Can they force a Game 4 when they play Wednesday afternoon at Wrigley?
Wrigley's going to need to be in an environment. It was for the wild card series against the Padres. I was watching the game Monday night. Seiya Suzuki hits the 3-run homer in the first. You're like, all right, like, got it. No, these Brewers are built a little bit different. Our Cubbies, I think our season's coming to an end next couple of days. Hopefully we win one.
Yeah.
It'd be nice.
Retrospectively, this is how I feel about it. I never fully got on board because I never thought we were a legitimate contender. But we just kept winning, and we kept finding ourselves in the picture. Sure, you had the All-Star break lulls, the slump around there. Brewers, were playing on a different planet.
I think they overperformed, though.
They did, but now looking back on it, like we're one loss away from it all being over, and I'm like, dang, I wish I actually enjoyed it a little bit more. Because I just didn't want to give it credence.
That's the thing for me. So I probably watch 135, 140 games a year.
Okay.
The wife probably gets a little tired of it at times, but you feel like you're a part of the journey in a sense.
Right.
And so you never get too high, you never get too low, and then you look on the social media platforms and you got all these guys yelling. It's like, guys, it's 162.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, you get to this point in the year where it's one game from being over and you're like, how did this season go? And you look back and you're without your top two starters and you're like, maybe you did overperform a little bit. But I love the Cubs. The Cubs and Louisiana Tech. That's my
that's your bread and butter, man.
That's my bread and butter.
Yeah. It's a lot like when I'm critiquing my broadcast, which there's a lot of self-assessment. It's like it's never as bad as you think it is. It's never as good as you think it is. It's somewhere in the middle, and that's baseball. That's a 162-game season.
It's a beautiful sport.
Gosh, this has been incredible, man. I appreciate you coming by. Tell folks, Ben, how they can find you, follow you, and two, if you want to plug that post-game show, because you'll be taking over Thursday night once we get through our thing in Kennesaw. Yeah,
BleedTechBlue.com. It's just $11.99 a month. You can come join us, like I said earlier, largest G5 message board in the on the On3 network, 247 network as well. We'd love to have you come join us. You don't have to comment. We have plenty of lurkers there that are reading our content daily. Like I said, $11.99 a month. And then we got Bleed Tech Blue Radio Tuesday nights. And then immediately following Kyle and Teddy's call, I got the Bleed Tech Blue postgame call-in show presented by Impact Healthcare Solutions. Which is always entertaining. We have a good time recapping the game, even if we do run till 1:30 in the morning following a game in El Paso.
Hey, that's your decision to go as long as you do, but
hey,
you do it for the people.
I can't wait for the Washington State game. I think it's a 9 o'clock local kick.
Yeah, 9 o'clock local, 12:30. You'll take it maybe at 1. That'll be 1 to 3 a.m. 3 a.m. maybe at best. You're off. Maybe 2:30. Maybe 2:30. Hey, it's all part of it. I mean, we're living our best lives. We'll get it to you earlier this week at Kennesaw.
Yeah, we'll be a little early. 6 o'clock kick.
Yes, he's Ben Carlisle from Bleed Tech Blue. Thank you, man, for coming by.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Tech Drive, again, appreciate everyone who's tuning in each and every week on YouTube, La Tech Athletics, of course, wherever you podcast, Spotify, Apple. We appreciate you so much. GB, Jack, Carson, Cav, all the guys for helping to make this possible. We will talk to Talvin Hester coming up next week, so stay tuned for that one. And, of course, our Tech Tailgate at Kennesaw State, Teddy Allen, myself, Elton Taylor, John Tabor in our network studios. That'll begin at 4:30 on Thursday as Tech looks to move to 5-1, and it'll be 3-0 in Conference USA if they can come away with a win. For Ben Carlisle, I'm the voice of the Bulldogs, Kyle Schatzberger. Thank you for sticking with us here on this edition of the Tech Drive.